That's a good idea. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
just push it to the next day.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us for KARE 11 News at noon. We're taking you right out to the fair after a pretty rocky start. I mean, storms left the grounds with a lot of damage to pick up before people could even get in. Alexis, you've been out there. How's it going out there now?
You know, a bit of a late start, but let me tell you, people do not play about the Minnesota State Fair. There is definitely still lots of people who are making their way to the barn here, making their way to their favorite food spots as well. But, you know, our teams have been here since the early morning trying to see how we were going to get to this point. So here's what we were seeing a little earlier today. Lights going out, trees, and even fair gates were knocked over by the winds. An entire swing set outside of the Rainbow Play booth tipped over. A lot of the vendors arrived this morning to pick up the pieces, and crews got to work clearing walkways. Overall, vendors say this has definitely been a team effort.
You know, I went and helped the guy across the street and, you know, a couple others. You know, everyone kind of pitches in. And lemonade stand, we helped them get going. We've been here 36 years, and you build a camaraderie with the different stands and stuff, you know, different people.
Well, longtime vendors say they cannot remember a time where they've had a delayed start at the fair, but they're very thankful for all of the help that they've gotten with all the inclement weather. We checked in with even more vendors who've been here for the first time, and they say, hey, they rolled up their sleeves and they got it done so that way they can open up today. Ben, a lot of folks wondering, will this be a better day to come to the fair because it's not as sweltering as yesterday?
Absolutely. I think you just answered the question right there. A sharp contrast from what we saw just 24 hours ago. Look at the temperature trend just in the last 20 hours. 90s yesterday before the first round of strong thunderstorms moved through about 7 o'clock yesterday evening. And then we had that secondary round of storms move through just before daybreak today. Temperatures are starting to warm up, but we do expect temps to stay shy of 90 degrees. In fact, most of us will top near 80 for afternoon highs. There's what's left over of the morning storms now exiting off to our east, pushing through the UP of Michigan as well as far eastern Wisconsin. We're going to see some splashes of sunshine during the day today, and we still have a touch of mugginess out there with dew points in the lower to middle 60s, but not the mid to upper 70s like what we saw yesterday. That kind of humidity is taking a back seat. We're not going to see that anytime soon. However, we do expect there to be some additional thunderstorms later this week, but it's not going to happen today. Maybe a spotty shower or two, but the main headlines, cooler and less humid today. Best chance for storms in the 7 days is actually going to be on Thursday, especially towards the afternoon and early evening hours. A couple severe storms possible at that as well, but that will shape up to be a beautiful Labor Day weekend ahead. We'll talk about those cooler temperatures and when the sunshine returns to your forecast coming up. Cece?
Great, something to look forward to. Thanks, Ben. Well, this morning's high winds are pushing back all the progress line crews made in restoring power from last night's storm. This tree on 44th Avenue South was already dangling on power lines when the strong gusts blew through Minneapolis. Just minutes ago, we learned Minneapolis Public Works got more than 100 reports of downed wires, downed trees, and power outages. Clearing the roads will be the first priority, though. And take a look at this new video from Waconia. The city was one of the hardest hit during the storms last night. You can see this viewer's neighborhood saw strong winds and rain that toppled trees and caused power outages. That's a big tree there. And speaking of power outages, here's a look at the Xcel Energy outage map. More than 2,000 people still impacted. That's across the metro. Those numbers have definitely been improving, though, throughout the morning. Just a few hours ago, there were over 150,000 customers who were in the dark. You know, whether it be the rain, storm damage, or heat, we're seeing the weather does have an impact on State Fair turnout. We're still waiting to learn how many people turned up yesterday when the heat index passed 100 degrees. But according to fair officials, there was a 50,000 person drop from Saturday to Sunday when temps were just in the 90s. Now to other news this afternoon. In just over an hour, the man charged in a deadly crash that killed 5 women last summer will appear in court for a pretrial hearing. Derek Thompson is facing 10 counts of criminal vehicular homicide after the June 2023 crash in South Minneapolis. Police say he was going nearly 100 miles per hour on I-35 before cutting across several lanes of traffic to get onto Lake Street. That's where witnesses say he ran a red light and crashed into the women's car, killing all of them. The case is scheduled to go to a jury trial in early December. Meanwhile, we're waiting to hear if police were able to make an arrest after this overnight chase on 35W in Richfield. It happened in the last 24 hours and resulted in several crashes. You can see the vehicle ahead of the officers near a dump truck. When it tries to cross 2 lanes to the exit there, the vehicle then hits 2 vehicles, causing all 3 to end up in that ditch. The driver then runs around the corner. We don't know if anyone was hurt yet. Hopefully everyone's okay. Well, just hours ago, the U of M Board of Regents held an emergency session where it announced it will not divest from companies supporting Israel and will stay neutral. Students at the meeting shouted in protest. Well, last spring, the board heard multiple requests to pull its investments from Israeli businesses as the war with Hamas continues. Today, the board reiterated that its decisions will be based primarily on financial criteria. As students demonstrated inside and outside the meeting, the U's new president, Rebecca Cunningham, spoke about protest policies.
This policy makes clear that the University of Minnesota will not make decisions based on the will of its community or even what is best for the university in the long term.
Our framework aims to support all members of our university community, including those who believe their voices are silenced or not welcome, and those who may feel intimidated at times walking through campus. Our framework also includes planned responses for when protests veer beyond university policies and move from civic engagement into civil disobedience.
The school's response to civic disobedience will start with education, including prioritizing university officials and not members of the school's DPS to first engage with protest groups. The city of St. Paul is planning to file legal action against the largest property owner in downtown, the Lowry Apartments directly behind City Hall, which recently went into foreclosure. In the last 24 hours, Mayor Carter toured the building and was appalled by its condition. He's demanding the company give him a plan about how to relocate the more than 100 tenants in that building and how to bring the building up to code.
We saw flies, insect infestation, rodent infestation, feces just on the floor. They've just turned their backs on 100+ residents who lived here.
Yeah, we reached out to the company and haven't heard back yet. Right now, we have an update about the Wisconsin DNR investigation into several dead turtles found along the St. Croix River. Take a look at the scene over the weekend near Scandia, Wisconsin. The DNR there says it was all caused by an attempt to sample the catfish population. Hoop nets were set up underwater to catch the fish, but instead they say it caught about 60 turtles. DNR staff members were able to release most of the turtles back into the river. The ones that didn't immediately swim away were put on the sandbank that you saw there to swim back when they were ready, but about 20 of them didn't survive. Crews later picked them up. The DNR says they started these surveys in 2020, and this is the first time something like this has happened. Turning to the latest around the country, a Texas judge has now put a hold on a Biden administration immigration program. It's a policy that creates a path to citizenship for the spouses of U.S. citizens. Several states are challenging the program, and it's now on a 2-week pause while the court weighs in. The Biden administration had already started accepting some applications. And the U.S. soldier from Wisconsin who fled to North Korea is expected to plead guilty to desertion and assault. Private Travis King was charged with 14 offenses. He's accused of crossing the border from South to North Korea in July of 2023, shortly after he was released from a detention facility in South Korea for allegedly punching someone in a club. His attorney says he'll plead guilty to some charges, but will plead not guilty to others, including possession of child pornography. King's next court-martial hearing is scheduled for September 20th.